All right, as I continue to do a deep dive rabbit hole that keeps going on metabolic health, how to improve how we age, starting with our mitochondria function. I am really focusing on my health, my future self, and sharing my discoveries along the way with you. As I do the knowing metabolism testing and functional lab testing for my real job, this is for fun. I love to put the missing pieces of a puzzle together to help determine what is a client's individual needs, areas of opportunities, what's out of balance that we need to bring back to balance to have the body find its own homeostasis, balance, metabolic harmony we talk about in our webinar coming up on January 8th. What goes wrong with our mitochondria is what I want to talk about today. So we are talking about how to improve it, but how can we prevent, kind of similar to Peter Attia's Medicine 3.0, how do we prevent getting illness? So let's kind of go into the factors that impact the mitochondria to produce energy as efficiently as we did when we're 20, 30 years old. So factors include oxidative stress. We've been talking a lot about that lately. Excessive free radicals, otherwise known as reactive oxygen species, ROS. You can listen to Dr. Ben Bittman talked about this in a recent video I watched on his metabolic classroom. Oxidative stress can damage mitochondria membranes, your DNA and proteins, reducing their efficiency and functionality. Then, our mitochondria can get dysfunctional when we are lacking the key nutrients, as B vitamins, magnesium, CoQ10, carnitine, alpha lipoic acid. These all impair production of ATP, or energy currency, in the mitochondria. If we are eating nutrient-dense whole foods and you're still low, we might want to look at supplementing, and then also thinking about that vagus nerve function and the role of digestion and digestive enzymes. Often we need to support how we're breaking down the food and working on our gut health to make sure we're having good nutrient absorbability as well as breakdown before that. Also, inadequate antioxidants, as we need more as we age because we have excessive oxidative stress, especially for athletes, and we have less antioxidant defense mechanisms as we age, is what I'm learning. So we need to make sure we have enough vitamin C, vitamin E, and glutathione on board to neutralize free radicals. Glutathione is a whole nother episode we can dive more into in the future if you're curious to learn more. But we'll talk about True Niagen and listen to my podcast with Aura Wellness on their glutathione spray that I really like to use before the sauna. Then we have toxins and environmental exposures, heavy metals that you don't know about unless you do hair tissue mineral analysis, HTMA. Find out if you have excessive lead, mercury, arsenic, and other heavy metals, as well as environmental toxins also can damage mitochondrial DNA and the membranes. Now, chemicals as pesticides, plastics, and air pollutants are also harmful, and I'm sure mold is in here somewhere. Now, chronic inflammation is something we want to track and look at your blood chemistry panel, triglycerides, C-reactive protein. You want to look at signs and symptoms of systemic inflammation, as that will increase oxidative stress, that will increase mitochondrial damage, and thus impact the ability to function properly, producing the energy that we need to thrive as we age. Then, of course, poor lifestyle habits. We all know people that don't really move a lot during the day. They don't do consistent exercise program each week. They're not lifting weights. They're not doing their zone 2 and sprint training. This lack of physical activity, or maybe they're doing all zone 3 training and not doing the right type of training, that they reduce creating new mitochondria, mitochondrial biogenesis, and mitochondria function, as well as what we're eating. If people are eating high intake of processed foods, and foods that are processed are typically low in essential nutrients, this can also harm mitochondria health. Then, of course, chronic stress and sleep. We really need to focus on prioritizing. I kind of in the cool kids club if you go to bed at 8 p.m. I'm going to start the Dawn Patrol Club, getting some t-shirts and hats designed. If you're curious, let me know. The Dawn Patrol Club. If you're up early, waking up before the sun rises and getting outside in nature and exercising, you're part of the Dawn Patrol. And going to bed 8 o'clock is cool, right? 8 p.m. So persistent stress elevates cortisol and other stress hormones. This, of course, can impair mitochondrial energy over time. Then we have mitochondrial DNA functions. Acquired mutations in mitochondrial DNA can impair the function and produce. And then aging, we can't control, but we control all these other factors. We can't control our genetics and aging, but dysbiosis, poor health, chronic disease, metabolic disorders, I believe we can take ownership of and avoid, as well as sleep deprivation. So of the reasons we age, similar to the list on here, what goes wrong with your mitochondria as we age, and why do we get health issues, metabolic health issues? I keep reading the same things, don't you? Dysbiosis, poor gut health, chronic disease, metabolic syndrome, neurodegenerative diseases, sleep deprivation, overtraining, excessive physical stress. Remember, big one for us athletes, excessive exercise without adequate recovery and which increases your oxidative stress and can harm your mitochondrial health. So this is a big one for you athletes, as myself, endurance athletes. We tend to thrive, more is better, until you learn the hard way, as myself, that too much of anything is not going to be beneficial. It's a Goldilocks effect. Not too little, not too much, just the right amount. More exercise, you're creating more oxidative stress, which leads to more reactive oxygen species that are going to damage mitochondrial health. And then if you're on any medications, which you should probably research, because it's more looking at why you're on that medication, what's not working, because often it's a Band-Aid, not solving the problem, but looking at the impact of statins, antibiotics, chemo drugs, how they can impair mitochondrial function. And then recreational drugs, excessive alcohol consumption are also detrimental to mitochondria. And, if you have family members of myself that don't quite understand alcohol is not good for you, it's not great for the liver, it's not great for the microbiome, it's not good for your brain health, as well as mitochondrial damage we see here. So we want to optimize mitochondrial function. Family and friends, you can help share what you're doing, but we can't tell people what to do, right? It's guiding them, not directing, and learning how to just share our journey, and maybe they'll be inspired by it. But I get in trouble when I tell my family members that drinking 1 or 2 cocktails every night is not beneficial for your long-term health. And I'm concerned about cognitive decline, and I'd like to see my family members age gracefully and have a high quality of life. So I would suggest looking at how we can improve our mitochondrial function by improving nutrition, managing stress, incorporating regular exercise, but the right type for you. So getting a Pnoe metabolism testing ideally, and figuring out how much what zone 2 is, what your peak fat max is, what is your metabolic crossover point, your metabolic efficiency point, and what is a sprint or high intensity interval training looking like for you right now. And those numbers will change in time. Also, remember, improving that metabolism and that metabolic efficiency point, Bob Seibehor says 75% of that change to improve your fat metabolism is by nutrition. 25% is how you exercise, training at that fat max and doing, when appropriate, interval training. I suggest some people might need to look at more 50% nutrition, 25% more of the stress and the sleep, and 25% exercise. So what can you do to improve your metabolism, improve your fat burn efficiency, and overall your mitochondria function. So training your body, figuring out your zone 2, your peak fat max, is not necessarily 60 to 70% of max heart rate. That's going to be really a guesstimate. So ideally test and not guess, because I'm seeing a lot of people's fat max is super low. It's perhaps down around 80 to 90 to 100 beats per minute, not very high. So what we want to do is spend more time and build that fat metabolism and improve that metabolic efficiency point, moving it to the right. So we're training, burning more fat at higher heart rates over time, because we're optimizing our fat oxidation, which is improving your mitochondria. When appropriate, we add in high intensity interval training or sprint interval training to improve creating new mitochondria. So mitochondrial biogenesis. Zone 1, zone 2, working at that long sustained distance pace, endurance workout, you're training your body to use fat as fuel and as your primary fuel source, and getting our bodies to be metabolically flexible. So when we do that high intensity zone 4 down to zone 1, or we're doing sprint training in zone 5 down to zone 1, we are switching fuel sources to carbohydrates and back to fat metabolism when our heart rate comes back down on recovery. So we want to make sure metabolic health is about mitochondrial health. What to do with nutrition? Well, we can look at nutrient density, of course, avoiding refined sugars, trans fat, ultra processed foods, and really nourishing your cells that are basically an outer layer made of fat. So having more of a smashed fish diet, which are the sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon, and herring, which I don't like any of those, I say. Salmon I can do, but I will supplement with omega-3 fatty acids. I order monthly from Kion and get my creatine there as well. And you can save with our code 20% off, I think you get with Coach Debbie Potts. And also using more olive oil on my food and focusing on micronutrients as B vitamins. I take a few days a week. I like this Live On liquid liposomal. I dip in a little shot of water, open up the little container of B vitamins, and it's liquid liposomal shot of B vitamins. And I do that for vitamin C, and I do that for their glutathione. CoQ10 is also important for mitochondrial energy production. And then, of course, timing your eating window. So 12 hours you're eating, 12 hours you're not eating. Avoiding large meals close to bedtime, as that will impact your metabolic burden overnight and allow your body to digest food. And then when you're sleeping, we should be cleaning out the system, brain, liver detoxification while we're sleeping, not spending all that energy digesting food. So stop eating. I suggest 3 hours before bed. So if you're going to bed 10 o'clock, you stop eating at 7. But if you're in the cool kids club, 8 p.m. is my bedtime. So I stop eating after 5 p.m. Improve quality sleep. Sleep is critical for mitochondrial repair and metabolic efficiency. So sticking to a routine that you go to bed pretty much the same time each night. Maybe weekends, I'll be up later, but try to ideally Sunday through Thursday, bed same time and waking up the same time. Sleeping in darkness, the sleep caves. You want to minimize light exposure at night to support melatonin production in the morning. We see that sunrise and we release melatonin at nighttime when the sun sets, and really avoiding that blue light so your body doesn't think it's morning time, it's evening time. Avoiding stimulants as caffeine. I need to not have caffeinated beverages after 12 o'clock, and I avoid alcohol. Most nights I might have alcohol twice a month, and it's typically a vodka soda or a low sugar skinny margarita. And I have a personal rule for alcohol that it's only on a Friday or Saturday, no drinking on work nights, school nights, and then I have a 2-drink maximum. And typically I just have 1 drink and then add club soda, sparkling water into it, but I don't have more than 2 drinks ever. So nothing good happens after 2 drinks. So if you tend to over consume alcohol, which I know most people do that I work with, you might want to set some boundaries up for yourself and experiment with having some of your personal rules, that you maybe switch to sparkling water instead and having a mocktail. All right, sunlight and red light therapy. Another big area I've been looking at. Morning sunlight, spending 10 to 15 minutes outdoors within an hour of waking, using a red light or near infrared light does enhance mitochondria function. And then, of course, managing stress and cortisol, as high cortisol impairs mitochondria function and shifts the body to carbohydrate metabolism. So I always wonder, when I got my adrenal exhaustion, I had high cortisol over time, hyperadrenic, and then continue not changing the way you live life. And then you start to have the opposite, low cortisol production. So hypoadrenic function and having more adrenal so-called exhaustion or HPA dysfunction. Having some adaptogens as ashwagandha, rhodiola can help with adapting to your stress. So they modulate your stress response. And then looking at mitochondria, again, we don't want to over supplement. Taking supplements after you're already working on nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle habits. We always work on this first. But CoQ10 helps mitochondria energy production. L-carnitine helps transport fatty acids into the mitochondria for fat burning. Carnitine's in red meat, so good reason to be motivated to eat your red meat. Alpha-lipoic acid enhances glucose fat metabolism, and PQQ stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis. And then supplements is MitoPure, urolithyl A, found in pomegranates, but you have to eat like, I don't know how many pomegranates to get it. So that's a good supplement to look at too. But again, we have to look at, why are your mitochondria dysfunctional? I don't think it's necessary to just over supplement to support mitochondria unless you fix why your mitochondria are getting damaged first, and then work on supplementing where needed. And then fasting helps if you're not an athlete. I think intermittent fasting, if you're more sedentary, can help improve mitochondria efficiency and metabolic flexibility, teaching your body to improve fat metabolism. So eating in a 6 to 8 hour window, not eating in a 16-hour. We used to do that all the time, but we're athletes, so we don't need to fast as much to promote fat oxidation, autophagy. We want to get that from our exercise. And then timing for us athletes being more the 12-hour fasting window, 12-hour eating window, and timing your carbohydrates in and around your higher heart rate workouts where you're using carbs for fuel source. Especially as you're getting older, as myself, are more carb intolerant. My genetics too, I'm more carb intolerant and more prone to diabetes. And looking at your insulin levels, that's when we have to look at, low carb or strategic carb timing, getting the carbs to fuel the exercise at hand. Hydration, electrolyte balance are also important. And I like Beam Minerals Element. I do unsweetened, but there's a new company that's sending me samples that are unsweetened that I need to try out before I promote, but I'll let you know when I test them out. So mitochondrial health for metabolic flexibility is really important. We can talk about next time. Fat burning efficiency, we test on PNOE metabolism testing. Well-functioning mitochondria rely on fat, burning fat, for periods of low demand energy. So at rest, when you're not eating, when you are doing zone 1, zone 2 exercise. Remember, zone 2 is your peak fat max. And we don't know what that truly is unless we do testing. When you do lactate testing, threshold is guessing that you're burning fat there. If when you're looking at lactate as 2.0 millimoles, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where your fat max is at what heart rate range. So that's just guessing, as well as the max aerobic function maffetone method is another way to guess what it is, and percentage of your max heart rate, but we still want to look at what fuel source when you can get that tested. A couple $100 is well worth the investment. So metabolic flexibility protects against fat storage, and then enhancing both mitochondria and metabolic flexibility and making sure we're working on all this. So how to improve, get your resting metabolism tested. Remember, 0.7, more dependence on fat, 0.85 on your RER is 50-50, and then 1.0 higher, you're depending on carbohydrates for metabolism. So we work on all this. Again, looking at mitochondria, red light therapy, join our Dawn Patrol if you want to get merchandise. I do need to get 1,000 people to order before I can on, what was I doing? Custom ink. But check out red light therapy. If you're not out in the sunlight, there's interesting benefits. I was diving into red light therapy. I did a little mini episode on red light devices, panels. There's Therasage, there's different companies, but you can look at these panels you can stand in front of. But if you can't afford $500, $2,000, there's different options as these Mito Adapts little devices. Well, it's $550, so it's still expensive. But if you're trying to conserve, maybe look at these portable devices and check out the different pricing. There's different companies, so I'm just trying out different brands. But Mito, Red Light Therapy, there's also Therasage, there's Keenon, another company I'm just trying out, and FlexBeam. So if you want to learn more, I continue on into red light therapy and looking at metabolic rate, why it matters, how to improve it, and how we use Pinoy metabolism testing, working on speeding up your metabolism with nutrition, exercise, and nutrition, therapy, supplements, and sleep and stress management, as well as movement throughout the day. This is a good time of year to get tested and quarterly get tested, along with blood chemistry panel, a stool test once or twice a year, really looking at how you can create personalized programs. You're not just guessing what to do. You're not just copying what other people on social media are doing. You are testing your hormones, your microbiome, your genetics, and your metabolism. So let me know if you have questions about testing and not guessing, or if you get a test where you live, and then I can help interpret the data and figure out a program based on you. What does your workout program look like? What is your nutrition? So check out this blog. Also, Echo Hydrogen Water is another area it was just on sale, but looking at this bottle, it's $2.50, but you can get it a little bit better price. We have I think 20% discount code. This is something I've been trying to lower oxidative stress is another good solution. And then over here, we've got True Niagen to improve our brain health, our energy, and our mitochondria function, because we need Niagen to create energy. So you can look at NAD, the role of NAD in the body, and how True Niagen is a precursor, Niagen's precursor to NAD. So we need that if you look up the cycle of creating energy. So you can look on True Niagen's website and look at this information. They're up in LA. Yeah, lots to think of. So hopefully you are looking at how your future self is going to be functioning. I want to be thriving as I get older, not struggling. I don't want to get fat. I already can feel my body changing as my hormones lower. So not blaming the aging process, but we just need to do things differently. So if you're trying to do what you think is all the right things and you're still not getting desired results, it's the rule of insanity. Mix it up. Don't keep trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So we want to work on course correcting, testing and not guessing, getting a personalized program, course correct, retest 3 to 6 months, and continue on. So I'll put the links in the show notes to these blogs and red light therapy and True Niagen, oxidative stress reduction, metabolism testing, all that. Learn more. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. Have a great rest of your day.